Well, good morning, everyone. This seems more intimidating than our normal cabinet.
We are normally a white tablecloth organization.
We've upgraded here. And Anson, you must be right at home here?
I am, and my secret has always been to be the Vermont's biggest miniature donkey farmer. And you can't bring them home, and there are two right there, and I'm like, oh, I've got to do that. I think there's potential there.
Yeah, I thought you brought your own. I thought this was a BYOA day.
Candace brought me.
She got the memo.
Yes.
Well, thank you for making this down. This is really important. This is our 9th capital per day, and I'm really extremely proud of what we've accomplished along the way, but also the responsiveness and the people that come and are so appreciative of the fact that we're doing things a little bit different. Instead of expecting everyone coming to us in Montpelier, so to speak, we're going out to them, and this is particularly important for the regions of the state. In the southern part of the state, we saw that in Bennington, certainly here, Rutland, and up in the Northeast Kingdom. So this is important. We'll continue to do this, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot today about some of the challenges and opportunities they face here. We can learn from them. Hopefully we'll learn as well. They'll learn from us. So we'll start this morning by thanking Buzz for hosting us today. What a beautiful facility. We'd like to hear a little bit more about the facility. And I also want to, I think Representative Long and Sevilla are here. Thank you very much for coming. And hopefully others will come as well along the day. So,
thank you, and good morning, Governor Scott, leaders of Vermont's state government. It's just wonderful to have you here to conduct the state's business in your capital for a day, Brattlebroro. Welcome to Retreat Farm. I think that it really helps to know Ted.
amen.
If there's one thing I will tell anybody who asks, if you know Ted, you basically you've got it made. And
I know Ted.
You have it made. Well, we hope you have a productive meeting here in the Cat Farm. This is the home of our family and children's program here at Retreat Farm. We hope you'll have the chance to meet some of us maybe and kick our tires and see how one grand collaborative effort to restore and repurpose a vital Vermont property is getting along. Retreat Farm is all told about 500 acres. We have 230 acres of farmland, 170 acres of forests and wetlands. There's the 60-acre lake across the street, which is actually a basin off the West River connecting to the Connecticut River. It's a great local aquatic resource. We also have the 30 acres that in the immediate farmstead area and the 9 historic barns that you see. We have 10 miles of trails that were first constructed in the 1850s. Since 1837, Retreat Farm has been known as a place that promotes healthy people, nature, and community. William Rockwell, the original first superintendent of Brattlebroro Retreat and the founder of the farm, established this concept with the farm, seeking to restore to mental health his patients through hard work on the land, healthy food from the farm, and through communion with the natural world. This holistic model that he pursued served the retreat well for 100 years, really distinguishing it, and made the Brattlebroro Retreat the model probably for Most of the other psychiatric hospitals that were established in the 19th century and the early 20th century. But by the last half of the 20th century, this model was falling apart. Changes in psychiatric practice and policy and reimbursements, as well as radical changes in food distribution and the advent of food service companies really spelled the end of the model, and so the farm began a long decline. By 2001, facing economic adversity and an unneeded farm and really an unfunded liability, the Brattlebroro Retreat determined it had to sell the property, fearing it would be sold into development, which is very likely. 500 acres immediately adjacent to downtown Brattleboro, potential loss of the historic structures and the open lands. 6 organizations, statewide and local, got together to preserve the property. These included the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, the Vermont Land Trust, the Preservation Trust of Vermont, the Windham Foundation, the Brattlebroro Retreat, and Friends of Retreat Farm, which was an ad hoc organization formed in 2001 by 268 local citizens who contributed $238,000 to preserve the property. With this collaborative behind it, the Windham Foundation agreed to take possession of the property and become the steward. In 2014, my colleagues and I began working with the Windham Foundation to kind of craft a long-term institutional strategy and solution for the farm. And in 2016, we formed Retreat Farm Limited, a 501c3 public charity, and with some funding behind us and a plan ahead of us. And the Windham Foundation agreed to grant the property to us at that time. We pursue a number of our own initiatives at the farm, notably the restoration of buildings, the soils, the forests, the waterways. We also have an increasingly elaborate family and children's education, farm-based, nature-based education program here. We have a growing community events operation. We have a recreation program with our trails. I'm forgetting about 6 things. We're embarking on researching and interpreting the natural and cultural history of the property. If you know the book Hands on the Land by Jan Albers, we're doing a mini version of that to tell much of the geological and cultural history of this property, of the state, really, or of this part of the state, with one property. But then we also offer a platform for the complementary initiatives, events, enterprises of other people. Examples of this already in the first 2 years are the Farmer Ballet, which operates here, one of 9 locations around the state, and they tell us their preferred location. Miller Farms, an organic dairy farm in Vernon, farms much of our farmland and is restoring that land to organic status. Food Connects, our local farm to school food distribution system organization, operates with us in the Yellow Farmhouse over there. When we say we're about promoting a healthy and sustainable local community, what we're really talking about is promoting conditions for the future in this area that will establish productivity, new enterprise initiation and the participation of the entire population in the civic and economic life of the community. So these conditions, we think, that we're trying to promote really comprise the essential enabling capital that this community needs to be successful in the future. And we think we can assist that. Now, when we think about these kinds of capital that our enterprises and our government efforts contribute to, we categorize it in 7 categories. Human, natural, civic, systems, physical capital, knowledge, and financial capital. We're interested in how the enterprises that we encourage, that we initiate ourselves, and that we attract here will contribute to those things, that capital making a stronger community ultimately. We're particularly concerned in this area about 3 types of capital: human capital, natural capital, and civic capital. And I think that makes us pretty similar to the rest of the state. These are capitals where we are either in deficit today or we are soon to be in serious deficit. The declining, the aging population, the declining workforce population, the fraying of civic and cultural fabric, the deterioration in the climate, and the degradation of the soils and the wetlands and the forests. These are all things that are critical to us. These forms of capital are eroding. At Retreat Farm, we think these are the areas where we can make a significant difference. So how are we doing? Well, in the 2 years, it's just 2 years since we took possession of Retreat Farm, we've cleaned the property up. We've removed a number of derelict structures. We've established this square, which is this 2-acre square, which is already home to a number of events locally, including just this past year, the BCRD's annual meeting, the Vermont Land Trust's annual meeting, the annual meeting for the Connecticut River Conservancy. We've secured our Act 250 permit for our entire program. Woo! I might take back what I said. And we've built our children's and families' education program into a real deal for this area. Our visitorship has increased 50% this year over last year, over 18,000 visitors to the children's program this year. We're scheduled to serve 70 regional schools and nursing homes and similar institutions this season. And we began holding our weekly Thursday night food truck community events. We didn't have any idea how this would turn out. At the first week, though, we were elated that 400 people showed up in July. But then we were amazed at the end of August, when the last 2 weeks we had 1,100 people at each of the last 2 week events. So we have become a thing already in the area. Over the next 2 years, and it's going to be really intensive next year, we'll restore the north barn over here into a warm weather event space. That's a very large barn. We'll be able to seat over 300 people comfortably. We will restore and paint all the facades of the building, repair the roof, and further expand our education programs, and establish the first version of a museum of the natural and cultural history of the property in a restored blacksmith shop. I just want to, you're not going to be able to read this. In fact, if you get up as close as I am, you're not going to be able to read this. But I just wanted to show you how we just kind of schematically, how we look at our work, what we're doing. Each of these columns is a programmatic area. This one's restoration, this one's our children's program, this is our own farm right here, these are our events, etc. Each of these rows talks about a description of the program area, the vision for 2017, what we think this program area will look like, etc. The collaborators, that's key, the institutional collaborators from the region or the state that are involved in each of these areas. But then down here, this is really our theory of change. Each one of these columns is one of those 7 capitals categories. And so these are our aspirations for building capital for each of those categories. So we find this essentially comprises our 10-year business plan on that spreadsheet. It's a work in progress. We're getting more sophisticated in looking at each of these elements. We may compress the 7 capitals into 5. We're working with some other statewide institutions on that subject of capitals generation. But this, in essence, is how we look at the world. I'm done. If anybody has a question, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Just a quick comment, Governor. I think when we look around the state and we talk about the need for leaders and cultivating leadership, kind of what happened in 2001 with all these people coming together, and then also what happened in 2014 when Buzz came and decided to lead this effort, right, as the passion, the next project in his life. It's just what we need more of in the state, people stepping forward, taking risks. These 7 types of capital he talks about. A little wonkish for me, right, Buzz? But really, this is how it manifests itself. And also when we look at why people choose to look at it, we're talking about all the different things we can do. It's all about quality of life. And this place is improving the quality of life of Brattlebroro in a way that I'm in awe of. And in the 2 years I've seen it grow, it's been amazing. In the 2 years it's going to grow in the future, we won't recognize this place. It will be a hub where 1,100 people is nothing compared to the number of people that will be coming through here. So congrats, Buzz.
Thanks. You're back in a good race.
Any others? Very impressive, and certainly best case scenario time frame. What are we talking about? What type of capital are you needing to invest in this?
Oh, financial capital? Well, we have an operating deficit, and so we think of that as working capital that's kind of declining. So it's a ramp-up working capital and an operating deficit. So just on that part alone, I would wager we have about $3 million of working capital that we need as we ramp up to a break-even operating level. So that's just the working capital part. And then for physical capital, for construction, infrastructure, well, it depends on part of this. We are in our Act 250 plan, for example. A lot of it is renovation of the existing structures. There's probably $10 million of capital expense left to go on the existing structures. But then there's another $8 million for new structures that we really don't want to do ourselves. We want somebody else to do, and that includes a lodge, which is approved in Act 250. Something the community really wants because they can see this being a mini convention, or not a mini meeting center for the area. Because we've had a lot of meeting spaces like this, and with veterans, it would be really compelling as a place for people to come, groups to come. But that's something that we had no expertise in, and so we would like the capital and the initiative for that to come from somebody else. So I'd say 10 million plus the 3 plus the 8, so 20-ish for the whole thing, of which we really need to raise 13.
Well, great. Thank you again for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting this today.
Thank you very much again for Thank you, Mr. Captain.
So we'll just start going around the room and talking a little bit about what we're doing today, as we normally do. I'll be going to the groundbreaking of the snow block housing project. This is a very, very interesting project, a result of the $35 million housing bond, highly efficient, high-tech type of design. So I'm looking forward to that. Then we're going to be, I'm going to be meeting along with some of you with the Brattlebroro County government to discuss their successes, their opportunities, as well as their challenges. Then traveling up to Bellows Falls for lunch and a tour of Sawmax, which is recently under new ownership. I've gone there at least one time before, and it really, again, is something you wouldn't expect, but it's a highly technical automotive type of arrangement. They design and build parts for clutches, transmissions, and things of that nature. So it's right up my alley. Looking forward to going there again. Then we're ending the day with a roundtable discussion with the ski industry about the upcoming season and as well as their growth opportunities. So we have a full day, and again, I know you have areas where you're going as well, and we'll meet up in between. I did want to mention some of the background with my thoughts about the capital for a day, when I thought that we should get out and see other parts of the state and go to them, were a result of the everyday jobs tour that I did as Lieutenant Governor. And I should note, I did 35 jobs throughout Vermont. My first tour, my first job was in Brattleboro, and it was a guy named Doug Cox, and he builds the violins in West Brattleboro. And really interesting, the quality of work that he does, and who would have ever thought that we did that here in Vermont. But he continues today. He builds many violins for famous performers for the Boston group, as well as many throughout the world. So again, a hidden gem here in Brattleboro that I encountered on my first initiative. So it's appropriate that we come here as well and acknowledge them. So maybe we'll start with Suzanne.
Thank you, Governor. I'm Suzanne Young, the Secretary of Administration, and it's great to be in Brattleboro. Thank you for hosting us. Within my agency, there are 5 departments, and all 5 departments will be represented in the Capitol for a day in some capacity. Commissioner Gresham from Finance is here, and I'll let him speak about what he's going to do. Commissioner Fastagy from Human Resources is here, and she's got a day of plans. Commissioner of BGS, Chris Cole, and I, he's here as well now. We'll be meeting up, and I'll let him talk about that. That leaves the Commissioner of Tax, who will be doing his now world-famous presentation to local taxpayers about tax changes that occurred in the last legislative session and other issues related to tax. And the Department of Libraries, who have played a very key role lately in the Capitol's for a day, finding these really wonderful venues in every community to meet in meeting space. And today it looks like the Brooks Memorial Library hit a home run. There are several events there. I'll be going to the Creative Economy discussion there at noon, as well as the town select board meeting. And after that, I'm going to veer up to the Wardsboro Public Library, home of the famous Gilt Feather Turnip Festival, which is coming up this weekend. So I've never been to Wardsboro. I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll be meeting back up with Governor after the December. Thank you.
Great. Ted.
I'll leave some details to the rest of the team from the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, but I'm the Deputy Secretary for the agency. I'm Ted Brady, and we'll be kind of taking in the whole breadth and depth of this economy down here. Everything from agriculture with our friends from agriculture, to the creative economy, to the tourism economy, to the manufacturing economy, to the vibrant downtown. We'll be spread out through all of those things today and taking in a little bit of everything and trying to get some best practices to take back to the rest of the state. The one meeting that I'm personally hosting is a meeting on opportunity zones. So Governor, you designated 2 opportunity zones in Windham County, one just south and west of us in Brattlebroro, and another in Bellows Falls, which provides specific tax benefits to people who invest in these zones. And on Friday, the Treasury Department released some much long-awaited guidance that's going to get this program moving and hopefully tap some of that $6 trillion of capital gains for parking bank accounts into the actual projects that make some of the things that we're going to see today happen.
Heather.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Brattlebroro. My name is Heather Boucher. I'm the Deputy Secretary of Education, and we have a full slate of activities, both myself and Secretary French, who will be joining up with us a little bit later in the day. We're going to start at the Windham Regional Career Center, where I particularly enjoyed Prez's presentation because one of my questions is, what are you all doing in terms of sustainability programs with Retreat Farm? So that's going to be my first question of the day with that particular entity, and I look forward to hearing more about what they're doing. I believe our communications team will be visiting Green Street School with Commissioner Tierney to look at some kind of heating.
With chip boiler heating. I continue to recruit people to my team.
And then I will be moving on to Bellows Falls High School, which I'm particularly excited about because I've spent several times in the gym as a former gymnastics mom, where they actually hold state gymnastics championships each year. My daughter's a former competitive gymnast. She gave it up, but I'm excited to see the rest of the high school. At that time, Dan, Secretary French, will also be visiting Westminster schools, so we'll kind of split up. And then I believe he will be visiting the editorial board of the local newspaper. I will be going on to Twin Valley High School. And Dan will be joining Secretary Young at the public library. And we'll then, we're doing a switcheroo, so he will be, I'm opening today and Dan will be closing for the day. So that's our schedule today.
Great, thank you. Anson.
Hi, Anson Tebbets with the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. It's great being here. If I can leave here, I'm kind of, it'd be difficult for me to get out of the barn. I would encourage everyone to scratch the back of the pig's ears as you go out, and that's make you in a good mood the rest of the day. Kind of cool. Pigs are the smartest animals in the world. So,
Thank you, Anson.
Can we touch the donkeys too?
From here, I'll be going to the hemp processing facility, Northeast Processing. Last week we were in Orleans. We were there where they were growing the hemp. Today we're going to go where they manufacture it and turn it into CBD oil. So we're going to be joined by Ted and some members of the ag team will be there as well. And then we're going to go to Grafton Village Cheese right next door. Meeting with the team there. Some of the finest cheese in the world is made right here. And then we've got some farm visits in the hills of Windham County in the afternoon. We'll be in Windham at Meadow Bees Farm. And we'll be joined by the chair of the Ag Committee, Carolyn Partridge there. And also we'll be meeting up at the farm that just celebrated its 150th anniversary this summer at the horse farm there. And then we'll be ending up at Westover.
Great. John.
Hi, I'm Darwin Thompson from, I'm standing in for John Quinn, Agency of Digital Services, and I got a couple stops today. First will be the Dover Town Clerk, and I feel some connection there. I used to be working the Town Clerk's office in Woodbury 100 years ago, so before technology. Now I'm into technology, and I'm sure that's what we're going to be talking about, their interaction with state government, and they'll probably have some questions there. Then in my job in the state, my normal job, I am the IT leader for ADS in the Department of Public Safety, and as such I'm going to be have some interaction with the Westminster State Police Barracks and talk about technology and their needs there. I think one of the things we'll talk about for sure is body cams and dashboard video and storage and retrieval and search and all that, so that should be interesting.
Thank you, Tyler. Julie?
Good morning. I'm Julie Moore, Secretary of Natural Resources. The first up for me this morning is going to look at a floodplain restoration project here in Brattlebroro along the Whetstone Brook, which is a very active stream. And a significant amount of work has been done here to restore floodplain access. Then Commissioner Snyder and I and Deputy Commissioner Sam Lincoln, who's not here yet, I guess, are all going to go to Longview Forestry up in Rockingham to an active logging operation. And then this afternoon, we'll go to Sursasimo Lumber and see how lumber gets processed once it is taken from the land, and then we'll end the day with you at Mount Snow meeting with the ski areas.
So what time is the logging operation? I'm just trying to figure out.
When the rain's coming. So we're supposed to be there at 10:30. I wore real boots and a raincoat. So hopefully Mike has such gear in his car.
Just so we all know.
Right, 10:30 is the time to make sure you're indoors.
I'm Lindsay Curley, Commissioner of Labor. Happy to be here in Windham County today. I will follow the governor to Flat Street, where we will have the snow block groundbreaking this morning with other cabinet members as well, and the Windham and Windsor Housing Trust. Followed by a tour of Chroma Technology, which is in Bellows Falls. Chroma Technology makes optical filters. They're a $30 million annual sales company globally. And in 2017, they implemented a very generous family leave plan where they pay employees that need leave up to 80% of their salary for 12 weeks. And it's a 100% employee-owned company. The other thing about Chroma Technology is they are very strong in health and safety practices. And as I love to bring up, these companies where employees and employers are together buying in on the health and safety are really doing a lot to drive our workers' comp costs down. So we're excited to be at Chroma Technology today. I will be dining with the cabinet at Sonex. So following a crew of you there. And later we'll be at, I'm glad you said Sursasimo before me, because I've been worried about struggling through that name, on the tour of Sursasimo Lumber in the afternoon. And then I will be, I should mention that Colleen Hale is with me today. She's our Assistant Director of Workforce Development. And then Deputy Commissioner Michael Harrington will be joining you all in the afternoon at the debrief, because I have a date at U32 for a concert this evening that I can't get out of. So anyway, Michael will be there to do the debrief. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Al Gobey, and I'm the Secretary of the Agency of Human Services. And I think it's great that we're here this morning, because you're truly at a property that has human services roots. And I think it's amazing that the human, social, and civic capital frame that was given is so important to all of us as we serve Vermont. I want to point out to you some of the conversation that Buzz sort of stirred earlier, which is the history of mental health and mental disease in our state and in our country. The decline of the size of the population of people in inpatient facilities occurred in the middle of the last century. Doesn't that sound like a long time ago? But it's actually when most of us were born, when psychotropic drugs were introduced. At that time, Vermont had over 2,000 people living in mental health facilities within the state. And so if you think about that from a number of people versus the size of the population in the late 50s, it's an incredible number. Psychotropic drugs allowed people to leave those facilities for the first time. That number went down to about 500 by the 70s. At that point, leaders in Vermont and around the country began to awaken to the idea that keeping people in large facilities for the long term was not the right answer to treating mental health. We began a move to community mental health care. That number went from 500 down to right now, we have less than 200 inpatient beds in the state. And so I'll begin my morning by going to the Brattlebroro retreat, which you passed on your way here. There are 16 hospitals in the state. We often say there are 14. It's not true. The Brattlebroro retreat is one of our hospitals. It's our largest inpatient center in the state, private or public. And it's important to remember its prominence in the care and treatment of both children and adults. So I'll be going there to tour the facility with some folks from the cabinet. But more importantly, I'm really glad Commissioner Cole is here. We have a big decision to make as a state, and that is whether or not we're going to sign an agreement with them to build inpatient beds. All the wood has been chopped on our side programmatically and on, I believe, BGS's side contractually, so that we can move forward with increasing inpatient beds in our state, which is a tremendous step forward to solving a crisis that we see in our emergency rooms. So the meeting this morning is really important, and I often joke when we have cabinet for a days, but there's no joking on what we're doing this morning. This is an incredibly important moment in time for the state. And so after that, I'll be going to the Brattlebroro District Office and seeing and working with some of our people and touring the facilities. From there, I'll be going to the Creative Economy Roundtable, and then I'll join the governor at the editorial board, and then I think I'm going skiing this afternoon. Is that what? Is that?
It's a big ski area right up here.
Perfect.
For a big structure.
I saw Jason doing some footage of fast grass sledding. Didn't know if that was...
We knew it wasn't snowing, so if we brought one of the scooters down.
Very kind, very kind.
On a serious note, I'm glad you brought that up about the hospitals, the number of hospitals in Vermont, because if we really are taking this seriously, and I do, the interconnections between mental health and physical health are real, and the more that we talk about that combined, the better off we're going to be. So thanks for mentioning that.
One more thing I'll call out to the cabinet and those here is that the Brattlebroro Retreat also is a hub in our hub and spoke program to fight the opioid crisis. And they've done an amazing thing when you go there, which is they've actually created childcare so that people, while getting treatment, have a place for their kids to spend their time. And we've also worked closely with them to get transportation so that people can get there for treatment. And because treatment in a rural environment is very different than in an urban or more metro. And so the way that the Brattlebroro Retreat has gone about the hub and spoke model is really kind of, lack for a better word, cool, and it should be appreciated in addition to the other things that they've done historically.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
June.
Good morning, Governor. My name is June Tierney. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Public Service. Today I'll be meeting with the Windham Regional Commission. It's part of the series I've been doing in meeting with regional planning commissions to see how the work on Act 174 and enhanced energy planning is going from their perspective. Following that, I do plan to be indoors at 10:30 sharp at the side of a wood chip boiler. It's going to be warm in the company of Heather Boucher and others as well. I was a little conflicted, Governor, because I thought you might want folks attending with you at the town government meeting as well. And unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to go to the Green Street School. Following that, I will be taking lunch at the Brooks Memorial Library and dropping in on the Creative Economy Roundtable. And then I'll be meeting with the Southern Vermont Connectivity Summit here in Brattlebroro. Very much looking forward to that. And we'll be joined by Clay Purvis, the Director for Telecommunications at the department. Following that meeting, I intend to head out to Mount Snow for a roundtable with the ski industry. In parallel, my staff from the Consumer Affairs Public Information Division will be holding a program with Southeastern Vermont Community Action to help them understand disconnection rules, which is very important, as well as access to Lifeline program for telecommunications connectivity and other income-sensitive utility discount programs, all of which tend to come to a head as we approach winter. So I'm very excited about their ability to come down and do this training on site as opposed to asking people to come to Vermont to do it. Following my meeting with the roundtable at the ski industry, I'll be joining you, sir, for the debrief. And then, as I understand it, I am to be interviewed by Huffington Post about Coverage Co. So I hope that will go well, and if good fortune is with me, I'll be on the road in time to get home at 8:09 sharp for the first game of the World Series.
Right.
Joe.
Morning, Governor. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here in Brattleboro. I'm Joe Flynn, Secretary of Transportation. I'll be starting off my morning. First, let me say that we have a very aggressive transportation program in Windham County. Currently, we have 9 projects in the planning and design mode, and we have 10 active construction projects across the county. I will be leaving here this morning, and I'll be heading back up I-91 to the Putney Scale House, which you passed southbound. We will be completing this week, Friday, a fairly significant upgrade to that facility. You wouldn't notice that, of course, traveling past it, but it's going to have a lot more functionality for our DMV officers and state troopers that often work from that facility in the enforcement of commercial vehicles. We're also hopeful that next year we'll be able to work with Fairbanks Morse and improve the scales there, similar to as we have just done in Fairhaven. I'll leave there and then join you, Governor, and some others at the Brattlebroro Municipal Meeting. And after that, I will be traveling to Dummerston, to our District 2 facility, where I actually worked for 3 years when Commissioner Cole moved me to Brattleboro 7 years ago, living in the Super 8 Motel, which you may have passed on the on Route 5. But all kidding aside, very fond memories of that time down here in this area, covering really the southeastern quadrant of the state of Vermont. I'll be meeting with Joe Russo, our district advisor at that facility, and then we'll be visiting 3 of the construction projects here in the area, after which I'll be heading to Wilmington to the Southeastern Vermont Transit Center and meeting there, and then ending the day with you, Governor, and the others at Mount Snow.
Great. Chris?
Thank you, Governor. I'm Chris Herrick. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Public Safety, and it's a pleasure to be here. This is actually the area that I grew up in, so when you mentioned Flat Street, those people from the area know it's been repurposed. When I was in high school, it had a different purpose, which I can tell you later. We'll be having meetings today with the law enforcement community, and then 1:30 I'll be meeting at Putney Fire Station with fire, EMS, and emergency management folks, and then wrapping up the day with you, Governor, at Mount Snow.
Great. Mike?
Governor, so like Chris, this is my hometown, Brattlebroro. This is where I grew up. I was fortunate to spend the evening last night with my parents, and my dad actually joins us this morning, Joe Pichak, who's a CPA in town, so Kai better brace himself for the questions. He's been working hard all weekend, I think, ways to improve the tax system. So I'll be joining the Governor at the Snow Block this morning for the Flat Street redevelopment, which will be great. And then meeting also with the town officials with the Governor. And just a note, Governor, the current Select Board Chair, Kate O'Connor, is the daughter of Tim O'Connor, a longtime leader in the Brattleboro community, and Kate has stepped up as sort of a second generation. Then also Peter Elwell, who's the town manager. His father, Corwin Elwell, was the town manager for a long time in Brattleboro. He moved back to the area in 2014, has also stepped up again as a second generation of Brattleboro folks to lead the town. So that's a great story. So I'm going to have some discussions with a local company about a reinsurance transaction. Then I'm going to visit the newly remodeled and redeveloped Bridget's Kitchen, which was founded actually by my mom 35 years ago, which is a soup kitchen here in town, and they serve over 1,000 people a week. And that number has grown rapidly over the decades, somewhat unfortunately, but they're there to serve an important community need. So then I'm going to visit with the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, and then also with the Richards Group, which is an insurance agency here in Brattleboro, which is growing to be one of the bigger insurance agencies in the state. They've also been a community leader as well, helping redevelop the Brooks House downtown on Main Street. So then I'm going to visit the later end of the Sursasimo visit, and it was more pressure on me since I had to say it correctly, Lindsay, the Sursasimo. But they've been very interested in worker compensation issues and healthcare issues for their employees. So I look to visit on the later end of that. And then I'll be going to Mount Snow to catch the ski industry update, and then also tour their most recent EB5 project, which is a $52 million project looking to expand the Corinthia Lodge there. They've already done a West Bowl project, which allows them to open 2 weeks earlier and stay 2 weeks later, and have 100% snow coverage throughout the year. So one of our successful EB5 projects.
Thank you, Mike, and he's much better behaved today with you.
And he got a screw shot last week.
The nature of it.
take care of them for you.
Hashtag more than one mom. I had two sisters growing up, so
Adam.
Good morning, everyone. Adam Gresham, Commissioner of Finance, and it's delightful to be here in this lovely, really lovely facility. After this, I thought I would join other members of the cabinet at the snow block groundbreaking, and after that, I thought I might step out a bit, put down my pointy hat and calculator, and join the Secretary of Natural Resources.
Don your raincoat.
10:30. I actually don't have a raincoat, so maybe I'll rethink that.
we're meeting about the budget tomorrow. I have one. An umbrella for you.
The Longview logging operation, which actually should be fascinating. I've never toured a logging operation before, so that should be good. And then I would join many members of the cabinet up at Sonax for lunch. Then this afternoon, downtown in Brattlebroro at the Brooks Memorial Library, I'm hosting a public budget forum where we invite members of the public to come in and speak to me about ideas they may have for the budget, requests they have. No members of the cabinet are allowed to come in. And I'll be watching out if you try to sneak someone in. So that's down at the library, and we encourage people to come and just speak to me about ideas they have or thoughts. Then afterwards, I thought I would hop in the car and drive out to Mount Snow and join some of my former colleagues in the ski industry for the Ski Industry Roundtable, and afterwards the debrief.
Great. So just so that everyone is aware of the joke with Julie, not that she has a dark cloud over her head, but every time that we have a capital for a day and one of us goes on a venture with Julie, and I don't think anyone has been left untouched, we get drenched. We know we'll time it. Whatever event she's going to, there'll be a big rainstorm. We've got about 5 minutes left. We don't want to be off schedule, but I want to go around the room. Anybody, Mike, anything else?
Good morning, Mike Snyder, Commissioner, Forest Parks and Recreation. Julie covered it. Mostly, Windham County is the most heavily timbered county in the state. They're very proud of it, and we're proud of them for that. Happy to be here for that, to sort of bits of the supply chain. The logging job in Rockingham, one of the most progressive, forward-thinking outfits in the state. Relatively good-sized employer. And Sosimo being the biggest mill in the state with significant challenges as well. And then finishing up, joining the roundtable on the ski industry, just reminding folks, there's 7 major ski areas in the state that rent land from us. So I'm technically the landlord for 7. Several of them will be at the gathering there, and that's good for us to connect on that. So thanks.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Beth Fastici, Commissioner of Human Resources. This morning, our wellness team is hosting a natural remedies to alleviate pain event at the library in Brattlebroro. And the state has one of the best employee wellness programs. And one of the things that we have is weekly challenges, or monthly, quarterly challenges to help motivate employees. So I'm really happy that there is fruit here, because in this challenge for this next 6 weeks, I'm supposed to eat 3 servings of fruit a day to be able to get all my points for the challenge. But one of the great things about our employee challenge is it really does motivate employees to lead healthier lifestyles. And we've seen those outcomes in our savings in our health insurance plans. And also it's a way we can motivate employees. We can't give our employees a lot of fancy bonuses or things like that, but we can do some fun activities. So that's one of them. And then in the afternoon, we have preventing and addressing sexual harassment training for some employees in Brattlebroro. So I will be at that as well, and we're in progress to get all of our employees trained this year, so all 8,000 employees, and we're well towards meeting that goal for over 400 in-person trainings this year. So it's a really important effort, and this will be, I think, my 4th training that I've attended. So I know all the ways to prevent and address.
I'll be joining Lindsay. I'm Colleen Hale. I'm from the Department of Labor Workforce Development Team, and I'll
I'll be assisting Lindsay today in all of her things and then assisting Mike in after when they switch off.
I'm Katie Buckley. I'm the Commissioner of Housing and Community Development. I'll be attending the snow block groundbreaking, and just to give a little perspective, it is the construction of 23 new units of affordable housing infill development on a vacant lot in downtown Brattlebroro. It will serve incomes from extremely low income. Those who have experienced homelessness will now, 4 units will be dedicated to giving them a new home, right up to income earners of 120% AMI. So it's a great project. It will be owned by Windham Windsor Housing Trust. I like this is my community, so I got to sleep in my own bed last night, and my commute was 10 minutes today. You can beat that. And I will be following.
We'll fix that when we go to Essex.
Well, we drove down from Newport last night, so I think I made up for that. So I will be attending the meeting with the local municipal officials here in Brattlebroro, the Creative Economy Roundtable discussion, and then heading over to Mount Snow for the ski industry meeting in debrief. So I'm very excited to be there. And thank you, Retreat Farm. This is beautiful. Great one.
Wendy Knight, Commissioner of Tourism and Marketing. I would just like to say, Buzz, that I also pitched the Retreat Farm as an event today, so it's good to know Wendy too. All the events that I'm attending, we have been covered, so I'm thrilled to be here. If you don't know, that Brattleboro is one of the pilot locations in the State Weekend. We had our last weekend this weekend. I met with some of the partners last night, so it went very well. Happy to be here.
So we're not going to call Ted Goat? Like your cousin? Tom is a wonderful guy. I've never lost a Super Bowl.
I'm Brett Long. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Economic Development, and it's great to be here in Windham County because the Department of Economic Development is very active down here. For the last 5 years, we've been administering the money that the state received from the closure of Vermont Yankee through the Windham County Economic Development Program, which has provided a range of incentives, loans, and grants to everything from Commonwealth Dairy to some local small businesses. It's been a great program, and we're just winding up the funding of the last few projects in that program. And the good news is we're getting some program income back to recycle. In addition, we're pretty active in brownfields down here. We've been working for a long time on the cleanup of the former Robertson paper mill up in Bellows Falls. I'll be interested to go to Sonex today. It's an interesting company that went through an employee ownership program, which is something that we promote a lot in trying to keep businesses here in Vermont. And now that they've been acquired by an entity of Berkshire Hathaway, hopefully they will continue to grow and employ more Vermonters. As Michael mentioned, our department was also involved in supporting a number of ski areas, including Mount Snow, through the EB5 program. And there are a number of areas like them that are continuing to expand and have big plans. So it'll be interesting to hear what's going on with them. Thanks.
And I'm Candace Morgan with the Agency of Human Services, and I'll just be accompanying Al throughout the day today.
Chris Cole, Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. This is my old stomping grounds. I used to live in Walpole, New Hampshire, and Brattleboro was the big town that we used to go to Flat Street. I remember those days well, Deputy. I will be joining Secretary Gobet going to the Brattleboro retreat to look at the space that we're going to be upfitting for a bunch of mental health beds. Then I will join Secretary Gobet as we tour the AHS district office and meet with our customers, state employees, see how the facility is working for them. I will be touring the Guilford Welcome Center, which is our largest welcome center in the state of Vermont. Sees the greatest amount of traffic coming up from southern New England. It's where we first capture them. Everybody stops, and then they see our lovely tourists.
That's just a figure of speech, though. Capture them.
Yes. We do let them out. We do let them out. And then I'll be joining others at the roundtable for the Ski Area Association.
Thanks. About our legislators, anything we should be on the lookout for?
No, but I will say that I really appreciate being down here the whole
Cabinet being down here, new governor being down here today. It's great to have all of you in Windham County. We really are a big part of the state, as you've heard just now. And so I'm going to enjoy traveling with Heather Boucher a little bit and going to visit the Career Center and others. So thank you.
And I would echo and thank you.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic program, wonderful opportunity for everyone to get to the area. I'm going to be looking forward to spending a lot of time with my good friend, Commissioner Tierney today.
Laura reminded me, I didn't mention the Brattlebroro Development Credit Corporation, but they're our regional development corporation for this area, and they're one of our most high-functioning regional development corporations, doing a lot of neat things in workforce development. But what's really important is they have led the way statewide in the idea of a regional economy, and said that it's not about Brattlebroro, it's not about Bennington, it's not about these towns, it's about how we all work together. And that Route 9 corridor, where the mountain range has kept these communities apart for a couple of centuries, they brought them together. So you're going to see that today, as I think a lot of people already know, but BDCC is an incredible partner.
And we've known Ted for a long time.
You should get to know Lindsay. Yeah.
Rebecca, hashtag.
Hashtag BT capital for a day, capital with an O, number 4, a day. No, just looking forward to another great day. I will be retweeting you if you get the hashtag right.
We'd love with 2 more hashtags. I got drenched with Julie. And you're traveling with Julie. And yeah, it's good to know Wendy.
Mr. Pichek, we'll catch up with you later.
I think it's great that this is a great program. I mean, to get out and see what's happening in Windham County. Mount Pilgrim is a long ways away, and a lot of times we hear, I think once the question was asked, is there anything below White River Junction? And it's great to see you here because there is, and we appreciate everything that happens.
We're going to see a lot of diversity today in all kinds of different ways. Sosimo Lumber is an incredible facility and do all kinds of work there, but also Sonex and Chroma and so forth. They're just amazing organizations. So we're going to see the full breadth of Windham County. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.